Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. We welcome guest speaker ShopPros CEO Al Wheeler. Al brings more than 35 years of automotive industry knowledge. Throughout his career, he's actively sat on the board and executive committee of Automotive Service Excellence and chairman of the board for both Automotive Maintenance and Repair Association and the Motorist Assurance Program. ShopPros is founded on a simple principle: accelerating success. I am honored today to welcome Al to provide his industry expertise and share proven results from creating an effective business plan. Today, most auto repair shops are running in the 50 to 60% range of productivity, whereas the benchmark is 90%. When a shop owner creates a sound strategic plan and sticks to it, they are guaranteeing more substantial results for their business and building stronger morale for the team. Al, welcome, and thank you for your time today.
Great. Thanks, Amber. 11 days into AutoLeap. You're doing a fantastic job here.
You're awesome. Thank you.
Throwing you in the deep end of the pool.
That's the only way to start, right?
That's right.
Jumping into it.
That's right. And thanks to Rizwan Steve, the AutoLeap team, for having me back. You may have seen my other was on building trust. And this today's topic is one that's really near and dear to my heart, because as business owners, I think we typically spend a majority of our time working in the business and not on the business. I think it's especially prevalent in our industry because you're wearing so many hats throughout the day, and our days seem to be consumed by firefighting much of the time. As a result, the business trends really tends to drive us rather than us driving the business. One of the best ways I believe we can all shift that paradigm is to really effectively guide our business outcomes through a discrete plan, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. So I realize that some of you may be sitting out there saying, do I really need a business plan? Is writing a business plan really the best use of my time? The answer to these questions is almost always yes. A business plan, I believe, is an integral part of growing and sustaining any business. So why do many businesses seemingly operate on hope? We hope customers show up. We hope we can fix their cars. We hope they come back. And that doesn't sound real reliable. Don't get me wrong, having hope is a good thing. I think typically when we look at the outcomes of hope, they really may help make my case for effective business planning so important. Hope really reduces feelings of hopelessness, obviously, increases happiness, reduces stress, and improves quality of life, which sounds pretty good to me, especially the reducing stress part of it. And I would propose to you that's also the outcomes of business planning. We all would like to have predictable, sustainable businesses that deliver outcomes both personally and professionally. I think that's why we started. So having an effective business plan can lead you and your team to that end, and that's what we're going to spend our time talking about. Hopefully we can get the slide to change. There you go. So think of your business plan as your GPS, your Waze application, if you will. It not only gives you the direction from point A to point B, but it also optimizes your route. It steers you away from the accidents, the traffic jams, and even the police that are out there, and delivers you to your goals by providing the proper path. If you have a business plan, then great. Hopefully you can take a look at it over the next 15 minutes or so and make sure it checks all the boxes. Keep in mind that setting goals, while important in business, does not constitute a business plan. If you don't have a business plan specifically with actions around achieving those goals, hopefully we can help you get a little further down that road this afternoon. So there may be some skeptics still out there that are wondering if the time and energy are worth it. Well, there's a couple of studies that might convince you that it is. The one you see here on the screen was a 6-year study performed by Entrepreneurial Dynamics that showed that businesses that had a plan were 2 times more likely to get a bank loan, 2 times more likely to build the investment value of their business when they get ready to sell it, and then most importantly, 49% more likely to grow their business over those businesses that did not have a plan. So that's pretty compelling in and of itself, assuming that you started your business and currently operate it to make money and build a viable asset that you can one day monetize. So business planning really lays the foundation for continuous improvement. I like to call it a success cycle for your business. what fundamental steps do we need to take, do you need to take to create an environment of continuous improvement within the business? It starts, with a practical understanding of our current performance against our desired or optimized outcome. The planning process then kicks in to define the specific actions that we need to take control of our outcomes. It's about establishing the success cycle for your business. It builds on belief, establishes potential, leverages then the specific actions that you choose that deliver those purposeful results. So, and the thing about the success cycle really is those improved results breed even greater belief in ourselves and our team and our business, which establishes even more potential, allows us to change actions and then even better outcomes. So it really creating that cycle is really important as we go through this. So okay, Amber, this is your first test. We're gonna introduce our first poll question of the day, which is: do you have a comprehensive business plan that contains specific actions and goals? I have her pop that up and give you a chance to answer.
That's my math skills, right? There
quickly,
we go. Yeah. Get about 30 seconds. Wow, we have a lot coming in. Wow. Really interesting. Give it another second. They're still changing. That's almost, oh, well, here you have it. We have about almost 50% both ways. I mean, really, we're looking at 53% say no that are on the call. 47% say yes, so.
Well, I think even if you're in either camp, you're not alone. There's a lot of businesses out there that don't. There's a lot of businesses out there that do. And it's an evolutionary process, an evergreen process too. I think if you just started or if you've had one for many years, the opportunity is to try to get better at that and continue to develop those skills. So I talked earlier a little bit about the study by Entrepreneurial Dynamics. Probably even more compelling to you guys on the call, on the webinar here, is some actual results by some of your peers. I don't know how familiar you are with ShopPros, but basically we're an application built on business planning and performance improvement. And this is just an example of a couple of our members and how they've grown their business through taking the time to work on their business with specific focused action plans that deliver meaningful results. You can see here, we're not talking about incremental improvement. It's really, we're talking about quantum leap improvement, really in a fairly short period of time. And it's really, it's not magic that we do. It's the business owners that have taken the reins of their business and really driving outcomes through their team. You can see that growth even in a COVID year in 2020, and that growth continues into 2021. So,
yeah, those are great numbers. I mean, you're seeing almost double, in 2 to 3 years. It's fantastic.
And it's I won't say it's fairly typical, but it is fairly typical that we see, especially with a focused business plan. So let's take a look at a model for business planning that might work for you. Only one caveat here before I start, and that's building a continuous improvement culture and mindset in your business takes work. It's not a light switch. It takes your leadership and commitment as well as that of your team. You have to be willing to stand up to the scrutiny of what you've done and what you're doing, and really have the energy to potentially change some of those things that may be preventing you from reaching your full potential. So it's hard work, but I think the results you'll see are worth the effort. I'll also say that it's important to involve your team in this process. Don't do it in a vacuum. They will not only help you form an effective plan, but really are the people you're going to rely on to accomplish it. So I talked a little bit about the success cycle. Here's kind of a graphic that shows that, summarizes the essential elements of that cycle. I'm going to run quickly through each one of these. Again, this is just a model. It's by no means the only way to go about business planning, but we'll look at each one of these. So starts with discovering your potential, and our business typically revolves around build hours. That's your primary and fundamental revenue producer. It allows you to make margin on both parts and labor. Therefore, it's critical really that you determine what your production capacity is, which helps you determine your ceiling. It drives sales and revenue, and also drives gross profit as well. And then, not surprisingly, there in the last bubble, it's generated by people. So it's really important to also understand the potential of each employee as well through this process. Another important element of discovering potential is looking at other relevant benchmarks of other similar size and types of shops and how they're performing. We're going to have a poll question coming up later in the thing that will address this. But if you don't currently have that view, certainly reach out to us at ShopPros, because we can provide that for you at a pretty affordable cost to just see how you're performing, a performance dashboard against other shops. So we then move into realizing where we're at currently in relation to those same elements we established potential on. So how are we performing in regards to build hours, sales, and margin? But we don't really only want to look at the business in aggregate. We also want to look at our individual performances as well within your shop. What are our techs producing? Our advisors, are our advisors able to sell the work that the tech's uncovering on the inspection? Are they able to sell them profitably? And this is a good way to effectively establish the baseline in which we're going to judge performance improvement in those key areas and within our key employees as well. So once we've established our ceiling and our baseline, we move into setting goals for improvement, both at an individual and store level. Again, this is where it's critical to have team involvement and remember the old SMART acronym that we've all heard: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-stamped goals. It really is important to be effective in establishing those specific goals around monthly, weekly, and even daily performance. That helps us keep us on track with our plan. So the goal setting is very important in this process as well.
Now, Al, with that, where do you see the most mistakes made when goal setting is had, to not drive the guaranteed results?
I think that's a multifaceted answer. I mean, some is I think not, we take, as business owners, especially in small businesses that we all operate, we tend to be a little myopic and we're kind of reaching for things that we want and that we don't involve our team. So I think really, if you're going to have goals, they should be team goals as far as the entire team. Obviously, you're going to have individual goals within that structure, but the team needs to be involved in establishing that. So if you're not involving those, if you're doing them and then you're not communicating them, and then obviously if you don't have the technology or the facilities to measure them, it's kind of hard. And I think that's where a lot of people, and not just in our business, but in every business, kind of falls down. And we'll talk a little bit more about that too as we go through. So inevitably, in order to change, to achieve our plan and improve our outcomes, there's going to be some level of change management. So how we manage that? Certainly training and planning are a critical component of facilitating that change. There's typically additional knowledge and skill development that may be necessary within your team to reach your goals. And that again shows your team that you care and that you're willing to invest in them. I'd say a good example of this are many shops we talk to will set goals around needing more cars. And that's a fundamental way we drive sales. But unless you've built the underlying fundamentals for a great customer experience within the business, that's really a fruitless endeavor. We don't need more cars for the sake of cars. We need more cars to develop long-term loyal customers. And if we don't have a conversion strategy for those guests, more cars are not going to sustain our growth. So again, it's important to get under the covers and make sure that you're doing the things necessary to accomplish whatever those goals are. And that's where the specific daily actions really come into play and get set forth. What we're doing in this business plan is essentially establishing the playbook in which you're going to operate your business, and it's going to drive the customer engagement system within your shop. So your business plan really should strive to eliminate randomness in your business. Nothing should happen by accident. Everything should be intentional around achieving your objectives, and certainly your business plan that you build will enable you to do that. So. And we're ready for Amber's second.
Round two.
There we go. So are you currently meeting your business objectives set forth in your business plan? Again, realizing this is an evergreen process. When we've just gone through the year that we did with COVID, I'm sure many business plans got upended to a degree through no fault or of our own. And so That's one of the things that as part of a business plan, you look at it, what are the things that can happen that you don't control? And certainly that was one of them. So
yeah, I think that this definitely shows, through the years, the last year that we had through COVID, 79% are saying no. So.
And hopefully that's popping back today, and will for the future as we get going. So it's really important if we're going to finish strong to really have a strong start, and that's where implementation and execution come into play. I've seen companies that develop these great mission and vision statements only for them to become artwork on the wall. They really don't have any substance behind them, and they aren't lived out each day. So implementing change management with your team is where the hard work comes in. Living it every day, bringing the energy you need to move the business forward and change its trajectory is really critical. And that energy is really sustained for that plan achievement is sustained through daily reinforcement and communication with your team. That kind of drives accountability, which we all need to be accountable to someone. And it's a critical step in the process. And again, many businesses will do the work to get this far, set reasonable goals, but they lack the fortitude to see it through, and they fall back to working in the business and being consumed by the activity that it brings. And we all know that we can all be busy, and we don't need to confuse activity, which leads to that being busy, with purpose and leadership, along with the connection to the outcomes that it changes through a formal business plan. So that's critical as we go through this. Then finally, obviously you have to consistently monitor and measure against your plans and goals. It's the old saying, what gets measured gets done. But again, I would say here, it's not just about measuring, it's also communication with your team. They're going to help you, guide you through the course corrections that inevitably will be necessary as you travel along this journey. So being engaged with them, having those daily meetings, weekly meetings, whatever you have scheduled in your shop is really important. And so we have our third poll question here, which is kind of alluding to what I mentioned earlier. How many have access? And this is something that's a big miss, I think, for our industry in general. We don't really have relative benchmarks. So do you have some relative benchmarks that bring you those broader insights into the business and your performance? It's tough to do that sometimes. We, at ShopPros, it's a kind of a core competency that we're trying to do and bring to light as because it really helps that establish that belief and potential that I talked about earlier. So
yeah, 78%. Looks like 78% say no. So
we'll talk a little bit about that again at the close. If you're interested, we can potentially help you there. Again, it's not a sales pitch, but that is something that's fundamental. I think it gives you great insight into what you can do, and by being able to manage and see what other shops of similar size and type are doing really helps you form informed opinion going forward. So again, kind of back to my initial question, in the opening slide, is the juice worth the squeeze? I'm guessing that since many of you have invested your life, in many cases your life of your families, and some of you, I'm sure, your life savings into the business that it is about making money at the end of the day. We didn't start a business, I'm sure you didn't start a business to be mediocre or to just get by. Some of you started it to pass it on down generationally. You've got kids in the business, and that's great. Some started to own multiple locations and build a large business, and some may have simply started to build the value in that one location to be able to monetize that one day and retire and have a comfortable life down the road. So I think we could all agree that establishing a business plan is worth your time. Hopefully you see that through this. Again, I don't think you'll be sorry that you did it if you do invest the time in it as well. So I'm a big believer in focusing on needs and needs of the business. You probably all have some, if not all, of the things on the left side of this slide. They're kind of fundamental. I would challenge you to focus on the right-hand side, the true needs of the business in order to be successful and really guide your path. I think a great example of this is the last bullet. Are you mired in old legacy technology that's comfortable for you and your team? It really contributes nothing to create an exceptional customer experience that drives retention and leverages the power of the social network. Certainly, I understand changing an operating system is painful. I know that it is, but in many cases, it's going to be necessary as we look down the road, and for us to keep up with the changing dynamics of our industry, but not only the changing dynamics of our industry and technology, but also the changing dynamics of consumer behavior as well, and how they like to be engaged. So that's one of the tough ones, I think, because we get mired in what we've done, we've always done, and it's hard to look, and as well as to open yourself up to look outside your business to see how others are doing as well within that benchmarking. So,
yeah, I mean, that's applicable in all facets of life, right? Change is hard, but making sure you're relevant, is really a big thing.
Well, I think it ties in, it's a whole nother subject, but it ties into also a retention of your employees too. Employees want to be a part of something that's dynamic, growing, and has a future. And so it's a big part of that as well. So, yeah. So final thought, I guess, before we get to our final poll question, really is, business plans, much like goals, are only effective and only as good as they're acted upon. It's kind of like Newton's first law that we all learned in school. Objects in motion will remain in motion until acted upon by external force. In other words, your business will continue on the path that it's on unless you engage the energy necessary to change that trajectory. So if you're happy with the path of your business and the path that it's on, then certainly congratulations, keep on doing what you're doing. But if you think you can do better, then I think one of the energy components that you can use or should consider at least is a comprehensive business plan. Certainly we're happy to help you down that road if you'd like us to. So that leads us up to our final poll question. If you are interested in setting up a business plan the next 3 to 6 months, obviously this is the time of year you're doing. I was telling Amber before we got on, we're actually working on our 2022 business plan at ShopPros right now from a sales perspective. So the timing is certainly right to start that process if you haven't, and continue that process if you have previously. So
yeah, looks like we have a lot of people interested in setting up a plan. So that's fantastic. I think, like you said, it's the time of the year to do that. So great start.
Awesome. So again, don't want this to be a commercial. It's not intended to be a commercial about ShopPros, certainly, but that's what we exist. We're a business planning, performance acceleration company. We exist to change the lives, improve the lives of shop owners, really. And if you're interested, we'd love to offer you a free, no obligation business health check with one of our team members, really just to set a foundational measure of what your current performance and what you could be doing. So if you're interested, obviously reach out to us or reach out to Amber or anybody at AutoLeap. They can connect you with us. It's obviously we run a business, but it's somewhat philanthropic too, because we want businesses in our industry to perform. I have the utmost respect for shop owners, all the hats that they wear, all the things that you do every day, and try to manage, and from customer expectations to employees and everything that goes on. It's probably one of the toughest small businesses to run, especially with the changing technology and vehicles today. And as I said, the consumer behavior changes as well. So if you think we can help, we'd love to try to help you. Certainly we love what AutoLeap's doing as well on their side. So that's it.
That's wonderful. Thank you. I just want to give the audience a second to see if they have any questions. Feel free to enter it into the Q&A chat box at the bottom, and I will share your questions with Al. But again, as people are sending those in, I just wanted to thank you for your time, Al, and for your expertise and for all of this. It's really important. I think, it's applicable in business and in life, so it's really relevant. So thank you.
Well, most of my expertise has come from the practical thing of making mistakes. So that's the way I've learned in the industry. I've made enough. I've been in long enough that I've made enough mistakes that.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately,
the
only way the way we learn and the quickest way to learn, right, is by making mistakes and learning from them. So, that's fantastic. So, well, it doesn't look like we have any questions. So thank you everybody for this, for your time joining us today. Al, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next month for another webinar.
Sounds great.